And hello, you lovely lot, and welcome back to another episode of Haunted Histories with yours truly, Penny Griffiths Morgan. Now, I know that I'm only doing these sort of once every couple of months at the moment. It's because things have been a tad, well, excitingly hectic, I suppose you could say. So, we're recording this on the 12th of June. And last month, I was lucky enough to be invited out to attend, not be like a special guest or anything, but attend the Penhurst Paracon in Pennsylvania. Those of you who listened to my last podcast with Gina Bankston and Bob Christopher, who organise and run the Paracon, will probably remember that. But I think it's taken me about this long to get over the jet lag because I got back. I was out there for 5 days working quite hard on my stall, my networking, and being very un-British and being positive about myself to people, which anyone who's British and who knows me will know me being positive is not an easy thing to do. I'm much better with the whole negative sarcasm thing. And then I got back, and then 3 days later, I was driving to Hinckley in the UK to be at the Parameet, the Neil Packer's Parameet. And I tend to take my eldest son to these event, that event, the ones in the UK anyway, because he really enjoys it. He's a trainee investigator. It's good for him to be around people. And they had an awards ceremony on the Saturday night, and I only went and blooming won my category. I don't think I've cried that much since, I don't know, Goose Dies in Top Gun. I, yeah. And do you know what then set me off again? My teenage son telling me how proud he was of me. And nobody told him to say that, apparently. So I do excuse me for not having done a podcast more recently, but I'm back and I've got a cracking guest for you. He's talking to us all the way from the future as well, Mr. Mark Wallbank. How is the
Hello.
future? How is the future down under?
It's bleak. It's dark. It's cold. It's raining outside, and it's bleak.
Oh dear. Well, we'll have to do another show when it's your summer and my winter, and you can
Yeah.
say, "So how's the past?" Well, the past is bleak and cold and dark.
And now it's too bloody hot, and I'm sunburned.
There's no pleasing you, Wallbank. No pleasing you.
Yeah.
So how
No,
are you? What have you been up to?
I'm keeping busy all the time. It's yeah, forever doing stuff, keeping active. Just enjoying life really, and working hard.
And when are we going to see you back in the UK? Because you and I met in person it was actually at one of Neil Packer's events. It was the one they did at Brownsover a couple of years
That was
ago, wasn't it?
2023.
Was it
Yes,
2023?
2023. I've missed two of them now, and I'm totally bummed about it. Yeah, I know. It's just I'm still getting the shirts. I'm still buying the shirts off them and wearing them around, even though I don't attend those ones. But I'm trying my best to get over there for 2026 next
Oh,
year.
brilliant.
Saving like a fury, and yeah, might just sell an arm or a leg or something, and maybe a kidney,
Yeah,
and we'll
kidneys
try and
go for
raise some
quite, I
money.
think kidneys go for quite a good rate on the black market. That's what
Mm,
I keep
mm,
telling my sons if they keep costing me money, I'm operating on them and selling one of their kidneys. So
yeah.
yeah, I'm sure there's a to-do guide on YouTube somewhere on how
Oh,
to
there's
do it.
OnlyFans as well. I've been told that I'll do quite well on OnlyFans, so there's a few weirdos out there.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh gosh. No. Yeah. Foot fetish websites. I might try. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
You
yeah.
never know. You never know. Sort of
Like to
showing
trim
off
the
the
toenails.
ankle, showing
Yeah.
off an ankle or something. Um. So obviously, you and I have been chatting for a good few years now on various things. You're always incredibly complimentary about the stuff I put out, the books I've written, and everything else.
Well, they're
Which,
great books.
oh, thank you. Which means a
They're
lot to
really
me.
good books.
Thank you. And obviously the new one is out, Becoming Peggy, is
Mm.
out now for anyone who wants to grab a copy. It's available on Amazon. If you want a signed copy, I can send them internationally. However, it's going to cost you an absolute fortune in postage, but I can do them if people want one. But you're an author as well.
I try.
How many have you
Yes.
written now?
Five. I'm sort of halfway through my sixth one now, which I'll probably try and get out next year. I'm a bit busy with a few other things this year, so I'm going to work on next year for getting that one out, and that'll be the Haunted North Island one. I've sort of covered the whole country now, so
Right.
the next one will be Haunted North Island.
Oh, you see, you're one behind me. You're one behind me. I'm going to have to up my game,
Uh,
otherwise you're going to catch me because I'm up to six now, and I've just started working on the seventh. So
or
I'm
maybe I'll
gonna
do a pamphlet. I'll just do a little leaflet or something. Does that
cheat,
class? Does
cheat.
that class as a book? It's a publication, though, isn't it?
I don't know. I don't know. I could, yeah. Well, we'll see. But we'll see. But I can see you're coming up behind me quite fast. So, but it's good.
Or
It's
I'll just jump
great.
on AI. I'll just jump on AI and churn out all sorts of crap.
Don't you dare. I was actually at that Brownsover Paracon. I was actually accused of that by someone because I think at the time I possibly had five, but yeah, I would have had five out. Oh, yeah, five. And this guy comes over and he said, "So, did you actually write all these?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he went, "Really?" And I went, "Yeah." And he went, "You didn't use AI to write them." And I was like, "Do people, I genuinely, this is how naive I was. I was like, do people genuinely do that?" And it was Paul
Yeah,
Stevenson from Haunted Magazine who said, I could give you a few writers who do that. And he gave me some of the names of people he knows use like ChatGPT or whatever to write their books. And I was like, but that takes all the fun out of it.
yeah,
That takes the sort of, yeah, the fun. I was talking to Richard Estep about it. Obviously, he's pretty prolific in how many books he's written. And I was talking to him about it, and he went, I couldn't do it because part of the process is all the research and then putting your research into words. And I couldn't I couldn't do it. To me it would take away the enjoyment of writing a book. Um
but it
but
also distributes false information as well. Because
oh hell yeah.
I mean, there are lots of YouTube video clips that are all AI created. I mean,
Mm,
there are a few of them about New Zealand as well, which New Zealand's most haunted hospitals, or New
mm,
Zealand's most haunted boats, or New Zealand's most haunted schools. And I mean, I haven't heard of any of these places. I mean, I've heard of the schools, but there's no stories. When you contact the schools themselves, it's all just made up. It's just
mm,
generated by AI.
mm,
So there's all these fake stories about hauntings all over the country coming out of these AI creators.
mm.
And
Yeah.
people obviously read it and they believe it and they, you know, start making nuisances of themselves around those locations.
Which, yeah, it's there's no accountability, is there? I mean, it's one
No.
of the reasons started Haunted Histories, what, 9, 10 years ago, is because I was getting so fed up of people hearing history given to them as almost as a Chinese whisper and then taking it as being fact. And it's that similar sort of thing that, a video has said this place is haunted and this person, took their own life in it, therefore, blah, blah, blah. Nobody thinks, well, actually, I could check that because if that happened in, say, I don't know, 1880, it's going to be documented somewhere. I can double check if someone did actually pass away in that building or something happened but they don't because that means effort and they'd rather just say, yeah, yeah, the ghost is of a person who took their own life in here. And yet there's no evidence. And it would be
Yeah.
documented. And it's a bit harder if you're going back beyond sort of the early 18, or even the 1700s. It's harder and harder to find the documentation. But it just drives me potty. It takes maybe an hour to verify something, but it's easier
Hmm.
just to sort of just run with it and, like you say, cause a nuisance.
Well, I
Um,
mean, there's a location down in the South Island called Larnac Castle.
mhm,
And I mean, you Google it all over the place, and there's so many stories about it being haunted and that there were murders and deaths and suicides, and not a single person died or has
mm,
been documented to have died in that building. And you
mm,
ask the current owners and management, and they said, no, nobody's actually ever died, but yet the stories are everywhere
mm.
about all the deaths.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
drives me
yeah,
nuts. It does drive.
mm,
I get very about stuff like
lots of
that.
false histories. Yeah.
Yes, but reading your book, Haunted Auckland, there were a couple of locations that, if I ever get to New Zealand, can I respectfully request you sort of leave me in so I can see what happens, so I can do a deep dive.
Not a problem. We have a few locations in Auckland that we have unlimited access, and we've been investigating them for many, many years. And we have the keys. We can get in any time we want.
Well, one of
Some of them
them,
I even sleep in. Some of them we even sleep in. We just sort of, if I've had a really bad day, a bad week at work
yeah.
on a Friday night, I might just go there and just sleep. It's
Yeah,
really nice, peaceful.
I'm one of those people that can do that. I remember once I spent the night in Kelvedon Hatch nuclear bunker, which is one of our like well-known locations, And a lot of people are like, how could you sleep in there? You're underground and everything else. It's, yeah, but it doesn't feel like you're underground. It feels like you're in like an office block, if I'm completely honest. The worst thing about it are the beds that you get to sleep on are the worst army type bunks.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you want lots of sheets over them. But yeah, it doesn't faze me at all. I find it quite relaxing. But one of the locations I'm fascinated by are the North Head tunnels.
Oh yes. Yep.
Partly because of the military aspect, because I am a military magnet, and also because they're part of the whole Fort Courtly sort
Yes.
of thing. And isn't the history that they were built by POWs? They were built by prisoners and stuff who were being held in some of the barrack buildings at Fort Courtly.
Apparently so. Yeah, I
Mm.
don't know too much about the history. Actually, it's a place that we've spent many years sort of exploring and documenting and all that. But history wise, I don't know too much about the history, to be honest.
Ah,
Yeah, it's one of those ones I've sort of documented visually with photography and by exploring, and we find open tunnels from time to time, and we're able to
yeah,
sort of get into places and but it's more sort of photo documentation, really. It's
yeah.
not so much historical as this. I'm more fascinated in quite some of the other locations that we go to as well.
Well, that was one because, say, I've got an interest in military history. The new book I'm working on is about two forts, one in America and one in the UK. So anything to do with forts and
Mm.
19th century and all of that, I'm just like, like, you know, very interested in. The other one that fascinates me, and this is probably because I've written a book about a forest, is Riverhead Forest. That one also
Oh yes.
fascinated me, reading a bit about that. Um, yeah, I found that one really, really interesting as to sort of what goes on there and all the unconfirmed rumors of there being an unregistered cemetery and things like that.
Yep.
But those are the
Yep.
two I'd like you to dump me in at some point if I ever get to New
Oh
Zealand,
yeah.
please.
Well, we're actually going to be staying the night in Dome Valley. Dome Valley is another area that's has a lot of mystery surrounding it.
Okay.
And we've found an old guy that has a property that goes right out and into the valley, and so
Uh-huh.
we'll be camping there. We've done it before. We spent the night there, and we trekked out into the bush, and fascinating place, incredible. I
Mm.
mean, there's been lots of sightings of everything from UFOs to creatures to mysterious deaths and disappearances to just mysterious. There's a mysterious stone, a rock that gives off healing, energetic powers, apparently.
Mm.
Um, yeah, a very sort of spiritual area. Yeah, so we like to spend a bit of time there when we can. We're going this weekend,
Well,
and it's
Dome
going to
Valley
rain
is
apparently.
the first location you mention in the book, isn't it? It's the
It is.
first
It is.
it is
Yeah.
the first one. I knew I recognized the name. I knew I
Yeah. Yeah.
recognised the name, but those two especially, they that from so far what I've got in the book, and
Mm.
also I'm mentioning Fort Courtly because that actually has got a link to the place we're going to be talking about, hasn't it?
Oh yes, it does
Yeah,
too. Yes, the
you
barracks.
see
The
that little
barracks.
segue in
Yes.
there.
Yes. Very good.
Yeah, not my first rodeo, Mark. So, the place we're actually talking about, and it's a very innocuous name, very pretty name. It's known as the Lake House, and it's in a place, and I just love all these names. Takapuna on the
Yeah.
North Shore. Is that correct? It's North
Yes.
Shore.
Yep.
Yeah. Um, it was built originally in 1896, but not in the location it now stands. And I actually was looking up the videos. I think it's on their website, the Lake House website, showing them taking the house into breaking it down into parts and then literally
Yes.
moving it and putting it back together like a giant Lego model.
Seven
Um,
pieces apparently.
Pardon?
7 pieces it was cut
Seven.
into.
Yeah, according to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's my favorite number as well. Oh, there you go. Um, So it was originally on Hurstmere Road, and it was built as a, correct me on anything if I'm wrong, because I have stolen this from your notes on the website.
Hmm. That's all right.
It was built as a family home. And it went through loads of different sort of transitions. It was I say a family home, it's been a boarding house, it was an influenza hospital during the Spanish flu epidemic
Hmm.
of 1918, 1919, which I'm going to touch on a bit more. it was also a place where rather raucous parties were possibly held as well
Yes,
towards the end of its, shall we say,
little
tenure.
ritualistic parties
Ugh.
that ended up in orgies up in the attic,
Yeah.
apparently.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Okay, well, whatever floats your
Classy
boat.
establishment. Yeah,
Yeah, right by the beach though, so I bet there was a few little surfers involved in all those
yeah.
frivolities. But the site it was on was it was it was prime real estate. The site it was on, and but the house itself, and I got this from a video I watched by, is it Tony Ogle? Or I think it was his name, Tony something, and he was
Right.
explaining how the site itself, um, it was prime real estate, but the property had a protection order on it. But it had a protection order that meant you could actually move the property. The property did not have to stay in place. I think he said it was a
Yes.
grade B or something like that rather than a grade A. And so this amazing group came together to sort of move it to its new site, which is now on Fred Thomas Drive. Am I correct with
That's
that? Fred
right.
Thomas
Yep,
Drive,
yep.
yeah. And it was rebuilt there in 1997. I
Yep.
find it fascinating that and I was showing my husband, who is a builder, the videos of that, and he was sort of explaining to me how it's done and the fact that, the fact that some of these properties, because you get it in the States a lot as well, they're literally just bound together, like they are built in blocks, and then they're almost stuck together like Lego blocks, and which
Hmm.
means they can actually be severed and then moved on the back of a lorry. And and I find it fascinating because we don't really do that in the UK. It would literally be brick by brick in the UK. What effect do you think moving it to a different location would have had on any of the spirits of the
Hmm.
property? There you go. I'm throwing
Yeah.
you right in there at the deep end straight away.
Okay. So you're assuming spirits are a reality. Yeah, I take it.
Yeah, or what potential effect? Yes.
I,
Oh, go on, dig
well, yeah, I
in,
mean,
dig,
the theories.
dig.
Yeah, I mean, the theories are that any sort of construction or renovations of a house usually stir up sort of spiritual activity, doesn't it? So it's
Yep.
whether that's true or not, I don't know. But it was placed on a an old tip site.
Hmm.
The land that it used to be on, there was actually a river that ran straight through it. And on the other side of the river, there was an old convent, and that was filled in and made into a dumping tip
Right.
um, many, many years ago. And the house was moved onto that land. So they do have a lot of problems with methane emissions. So there's a lot
All
of
right.
methane that's coming out of the ground still from it being a tip.
Right.
They've actually got a big methane meter inside the house to sort of gauge it and monitor it.
Okay.
But it was quite interesting. I mean, there have been sightings because right now, in front of the lake house, the art centre there, there's a football playing field now.
Hmm.
It's just a big playing field, which used to be the river.
Oh.
And there have been sightings of a canoe, what is described as a canoe or a small boat, um, and especially in the misty darkness, moving along the playing field. And many years ago, it would have been a river.
Mm.
But it's undecided whether it's Maori rowing a waka canoe,
Right.
or whether it's nuns in a dinghy,
Ah.
because there was
Okay.
a convent, and the nuns used to get out on the river and row their dinghy, little boat. So
Right.
um, yeah, it's undecided. But yeah, there's been an apparition of something like a boat-like thing cruising across the football field, which I found was found interesting.
I did see
Yeah,
in some of the pictures they look like rugby posts as well.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So is
yeah.
there a rugby pitch there as well?
There is. It's all yeah. It's a
Ah,
sports field used for many
right.
things. Yeah,
I'm an ex-rugby player. I notice rugby posts. I don't do the whole soccery football thing. I do the proper sport. Ugh,
yeah.
the proper one.
Raga, grr.
Ugh. Yeah. I tell you what, one of the hardest players I ever played against was a female New Zealand. She wasn't a black fern, but she learned her sport in New Zealand, and oh my days. Yeah, she broke me in two when she hit me. Um, but wow, that's really interesting. So not only have you got potentially a site that might still have potentially residual energy attached to it. You've also got possibly a property that's pulled, that something's attached to, that's travelled with it to this new
It does seem
site.
that way. I mean, like before we even we didn't realize, and I mean, when we started doing our investigations there, it was probably about 2018, I suppose. We
Right.
started doing our investigations there, and it was just one of those situations where I'd driven past this house so many times. I thought, yeah, I'm going to go and ask them if they've got any stories. You never know. Try
Mm.
my luck.
Yeah.
And of course, the manager there was, yes, we have. You've got to come and spend some time here. So we did, and we the first couple of nights were very quiet. We didn't really have much happen, but then we started to get these little interactions with some of our trigger objects, and quite interesting ones. I mean, we had these little pop lights. They were just little cheap lights that I bought off eBay. They're about $1 each,
Hmm.
and free shipping, of course, and very basic. And I just thought I'd use them as a sort of a trigger object where if there is a spirit there, maybe it can make the lights go off and on.
Mm.
Very simple, very cheap idea for a trigger object. Thought we'd use that. We had nothing happen for quite a while, but there was one night we were there and we were asking questions, and the light started to flicker.
Okay.
So, of course, with trigger objects and with anything in the paranormal, with an investigation, you kind of go where things lead you. If things are happening, you sort of go with it just to see
Yeah.
where it takes you, and you try and figure it out as you go.
Hmm.
So the lights started flashing, and we started thinking, okay, maybe there's somebody here that's reacting. Maybe there's something's happening with something here. We'll go with that for a bit, see what happens. So we started asking questions, and we were getting responses that kept going off. At the end of the questions, the lights would turn off and on and flicker and all that sort of things. So we didn't know whether it was just a faulty light or weak batteries or whatever. So we started asking more questions, and we started going through the alphabet to sort of find names.
Hmm.
And we managed to go, and we just through asking questions and counting through the alphabet or counting through numbers and going through the alphabet, we came up with a name, Patricia. We
Hmm.
came up with P, and we went PAT, and then we called out, "Is it Patricia?" And of course, the light lit up really, very, very bright.
Yeah.
And then we said, "Oh, do you prefer Patty?" And of course, it got all excited and started flashing like crazy. So we kind of went with it for a bit. We thought, okay, maybe we've got a Patty here. And we started asking questions about ages, and we found out that she was a young girl. She's about eight. I think she was 9 years old. And so we've been playing around with that idea, and it's quite interesting because nothing happens outside the questioning. All the equipment's just dead, and until we ask questions, and it sort of lights up.
Mm.
And one of our past members, Amy, you may remember Amy.
Hmm.
She was in the team at the time, and we decided to try and bring some toys along. And so she brought a whole bunch of toys, dolls, and she brought a box of dominoes along. And she asked Patty what she'd like to play,
Hmm.
and Patty pointed out the dominoes. So Amy ended up playing a game of dominoes with Patty and losing,
Right.
which was interesting. And I got all excited about that because I'm very skeptical about a lot of things, and
Yeah.
this had me stumped. And so I was lying on my belly with a camera up close, trying to film everything
Yeah.
just to take it all in. It was quite amazing. So we ended up getting all these sort of pointers that there maybe perhaps there was some sort of child there called
Hmm.
Petty.
Right.
Then we started seeing small shadows, and we've seen many moving shadows around the place in the lake house, and they're always very small, very sort of child sized.
Mm.
Then we were hearing footsteps as well, the running footsteps, running like a child, running around up and down stairs and all that. So, and we had a friend of mine from down Wellington, James Gilbert. He joined us on one of our investigations there, one of our nights, and he was sitting at the bottom of the stairs, and he said that he saw what he described as a small child-sized shadow coming down the stairs, and when it reached him, he actually thought it was going to come right up to him. So he extended his hand to greet it because he thought it was going to run into him.
Mm.
And he's a very skeptically minded person, more skeptical than I am, and he was blown away by it. He was quite
Mm.
shocked because a shadow came down the stairs, and you know, to the point he had to reach out.
Mm.
Um, so there've been lots of these things. So everything we've been doing there seems to point to it being a child. And then we started hearing stories. Apparently, when the house was in its original position back in Takapuna on the beach, It was used for many things. It was used for social functions and community sort of events and things like that. And there was this young girl that was at a party. It was a birthday party, and she met this young girl who was standing on the stairs. There's a big stairwell there. She was just standing there. So she went up to her and started talking to her, and the girl wouldn't talk back. She just stood there. And then her sister came down the stairs to see what she was doing and didn't actually see this girl. But yet this other girl was sitting there talking to her and trying to hold a conversation with her. But the sister never saw a girl at the time. The
Hmm.
lady has since been back. Now that she's an adult, she's come back and she's retold the story about what she saw.
Hmm.
So we're thinking that perhaps maybe that was a very early sighting of Patty. We don't know. Um,
But you don't know who
but yeah,
Patty
it's been
could have. You don't know who Patty could have been.
no, no, we haven't done
Okay.
much research about it to find out who she
Okay.
is, but we can't find any Patties. We need a surname.
Oh. Oh. Do you know the surname?
Um,
Did you say?
we don't know a surname. We don't have a surname. No.
Okay. I'm going to tell you something now, and you don't know this
Mm,
because I was doing. I'm a research nerd. I will disappear into archives for hours. What I decided to do to see if I could find any Patricias who passed away in Takapuna between 1900 and about 1945 who were children.
mhm.
And I did open it up to the whole of, I couldn't find any specifically that linked to the house, but what you're saying about it being a social venue,
Mm,
this might make sense. So there is a family known the Whitcombs who lived in Takapuna, and Hugh Whitcomb was, I think, the son or the grandson of the founder of Whitcomb and Tomb Limited, who were a big, massive book publisher, huge book
yes.
publisher. He was the, I think, the second or third son or grandson, something like that. I can't remember the exact lineage. Anyway, he had a daughter called Patricia who died at the age of 3.
Oh, okay.
Now, he sadly died 16 years later, 48, I think it was, 49. The interesting thing was when I looked up what Patricia's date of death was, and this is like weird synchronicity that I'm kind of like, it could be just coincidence, but she died on the 9th of June. I found her details on the 10th of June.
Oh, well, well.
Now, she was only 3, but I couldn't work out what her link could have been. But if they were quite, he was quite a well-known businessman in the area. If it was a social venue,
Hmm.
possibility his family would have been invited there. And
Maybe,
and if
yes.
Patty had enjoyed playing there, playing on the beach, everything else, I mean, they lived on, I think it was Clifton Road, according to the census records. But if she enjoyed
Done
playing
well.
there, pardon?
You've done well.
I see. I aim to please. I
Hey.
aim to please. I was disappointed I didn't find more. But I'm just wondering if she enjoyed herself there. I mean, there's other stories of other sort of houses where spirits have been communicated with who didn't live there, but maybe went there for family get-togethers or a party. And if maybe if she was drawn back there because she had a great time playing there, and I don't know, but it
Yeah.
was more the fact that when I looked up what her actual date of death was, it was the 9th of June, and I found her information on the 10th.
Right. Okay. Interesting. Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying it is her, and yes, it is a bit of a round peg square hole, but
Hmm.
I only found, I think, 3 Patricias who died in childhood in Takapuna, and one of them was
Right.
even
Okay.
younger than that. Um, yeah, but it is also the fact Hugh died suddenly in his 40s. 16 years later, but he was a very, very eminent kind of businessman. Um, yeah, he did have another daughter as well, who was called Jean. Um, he had 2 daughters,
Hmm.
but yeah, it was also the fact the date I found her details was the day after, and which always makes me gulp a bit when I do stuff like that. Because I have a
Yeah,
tendency to do stuff like that on some of the TV shows I research, where I'll find something and it's like the date I'm due to be recording or the date I'm looking at. It's weird when that happens. But
yeah.
and I'm not saying it is paranormal. It's just a bit odd.
Yeah, but of course, we don't really know if her name was Patty or Patricia because who knows about spirit
No,
communication? What if there's a lag? What if there's a lag in the communication?
no, we don't
And
know.
you're going through the alphabet, and maybe I said M,
Yeah,
and she clicked on, and that's when she replied, but there's a lag, so
yeah.
it came out as P.
Oh, yeah, I'm not
Um,
saying this is categorical evidence or anything
mm,
else, but I always find if there's a name, if I can find a link, it's quite interesting.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so maybe if you communicate with her again, say, did you have a sister? Because if she did, her sister's name was Jean Noel, and Jean never married, from what I can make out, and lived with her mum and until her mum died in her 90s. So, um, I don't know. I don't know.
I'm noting this down, so I'll be,
You're welcome.
yeah. Oh,
Went through, as we said, a lot of things. Another, I would have said, quite powerful era that it possibly went through was when it was a temporary hospital during the Spanish flu
yes.
epidemic. No, epidemic is the word I was looking for. Um,
Pandemic,
whatever.
pandemic, epidemic. Yeah, yeah,
That word, that one.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. Nasty
that
times, nasty.
very nasty times, very nasty times. Um, for those people who don't know the history of that, this flu pandemic hit during the last year of World War One. It's actually believed to have originated from Kansas in America. They think that's where patient zero came from, and they actually do believe it could have potentially been a soldier who the Americans sent off to fight, started spreading it. Don't know for sure, but that's what historians believe. But it hit everywhere, everywhere. You know, even if you don't believe COVID-19 was real, the Spanish flu epidemic was a killer in the millions, in the millions. And so you've got all these communities trying to cope with World War One, and you've got soldiers who are very unwell because of injuries they've sustained in World War One. You've got people possibly not eating properly because of rationing, because rationing did happen during World War One as well. And then you've got this horrendous illness that was killing people, not being trivial to say, left, right, and centre. Um,
Mm.
there's quite a bit about it in New Zealand on the internet, if you have a look. And one of the things they actually requested, I think it was about September, October, possibly November 1918, was they asked for if you have a large property, please, please, can we borrow it to use as a temporary hospital? Because there are so many unwell people, we need to house them somewhere. Um, I will be honest saying I can't find the Lake House referenced as one of the temporary hospitals. I'm sure it's there. Sure, it's in the archive somewhere. It's just not online because unfortunately my budget doesn't stretch to me flying out to Auckland to actually go into the archives in person as much as I would love to. I would disappear for hours, but it's documented on the history pages that it was. Now, the death rate from this illness was a lot higher than I think people would realize. Um, I mean, in Takapuna itself, which at the time during 1919 had a population of around 2,700, they lost 20 people to flu in that year. Um, so it worked out as a 7.3% death rate. One of the other areas of Auckland, which you said is it sort of in the south, is it Papakura is
Yeah,
in the
that's South
south?
Auckland, yes.
Yep.
Yep.
That had a 23.1% death rate. And what they've also said is that the impact on the Maori communities was even worse. We're talking 50, 60% death rate because of how their communities lived and the fact they didn't want medical help because maybe they didn't trust it or they didn't feel they could ask for it. I don't know. It's a whole psychological thing. But it hit incredibly hard. But it wasn't just those individuals coming into the hospital who were at risk. It was the nursing staff, the doctors, the orderlies, the because they were asking for volunteers for people who would come in and wash sheets, people who would come in and clean to try and keep it as sanitary as possible. It's I think it's something for some reason that gets doesn't get talked about much. Because that was some of the articles I was reading on it was saying that there's a lot of people in New Zealand that don't realise the how many deaths there were in such a short space of time. And
Mm.
these aren't just like elderly, vulnerable people. There was a list, and it was showing it all the different people and the age. I mean, there was even a tragic story about a chap who he'd recovered from the flu, but was left. It's almost like equivalent, I think, long COVID. He was so depressed with how unwell he still was, even 3 months after being discharged from hospital, he took his own life because he felt he could never be well again. Um, and it's I don't think people worldwide actually realize the impact and the sacrifice then that people like the people who owned the lake house at the time, the sacrifice they would have made by offering up their home
Yes,
as a place
yes.
of sanctuary for people. What do you think?
Oh, definitely. I think back in those days, I think just any house would do, any storage
Mm,
room, any space at all was much gratefully accepted. And
mm,
I just think, yeah, I think it was just one of those houses that just happened to be there, and it was used. It was only
mm.
temporary, I think, from what I read. But
Yeah,
it's
it was, yeah.
yeah.
It's just the fact that I mean, when as have you did you ever learn about the Spanish flu epidemic? Have you ever
I
has
did
anyone?
not at school. They didn't really teach it at my school.
Mm,
No. But it's one I haven't really researched myself, to be
mm.
honest. It's yeah, it's yeah. There's only so much you can learn.
There's
Yeah,
not enough hours in my day to learn everything I want to
yeah,
learn because I
yeah.
learn one thing, which then leads me on to something else that I then want to deep dive into. But the point I'm making is that somebody possible well, there's a high percentage of chance that somebody passed away in that house
Oh yes, yes,
because of the
definitely. Yeah,
flu
I
or
would say so.
the
Yeah.
pneumonia or bronchitis that a lot of the people I was noticing when it was saying their cause of death was due to pneumonia following the flu. So it would have been say, has anyone ever felt sort of difficulty breathing or anything like that in the house? Has there ever been anything?
I haven't read any reports. I haven't seen anything like
Okay.
that yet. It's more sort of sightings and the sounds of running footsteps. I mean,
Mm,
I've heard running footsteps myself, clear as day,
yeah.
loud, barefoot on
Yeah.
wooden floorboards, running down the hallway, just like a child would.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's I don't know. It's as I say, they do have problems with the methane
Yeah.
from the tip below it, but it does seem to be under control. They do have a meter there that monitors the whole situation, and it seems to be leveling off quite nicely.
Okay.
And it's so whether that affects people there, I don't
That was
know.
I
But
was going to ask that. I was going to ask, does what sort of have you looked into if there is a slight release of gas, could that actually almost cause people to see things that aren't
yeah, well, I mean,
there?
I've taken my gas meter there, and I've never really detected anything at any
Okay.
time. I always had it going during investigations, just in case
Mm.
something changes. But I've never sort of noticed anything. That nothing's been noted about any sort of gaseous exchanges anywhere in the
Mm.
place.
Or I mean,
Um,
even could inhaling the methane cause someone to hallucinate? I don't know what
oh,
the
if it was strong enough, yeah. If there was
would it?
enough there, if it was concentrated enough, yes, oh,
Yeah.
definitely. But yeah, I don't think that's sort of come into it yet, though. But
Okay.
it is an option, though, I guess.
Okay. Okay. So I mentioned Fort Courtly at the beginning. The reason I mentioned Fort Courtly is if you Google Earth, if you Google Maps or Google Earth, the lake house, you can see there's two barrack buildings, and they were actually rescued from Fort Courtly. I think it was a lady by the name of Ruth L. who sort of pioneered that and got them rescued and put in place almost as classrooms.
I think so. Yes,
Oh, they
they're arts,
something
they're
like
arts,
that.
community art spaces now.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Now,
mhm.
I don't know if it was those specific buildings when they were at the fort, but in 1888, the fort turned a lot of its barrack buildings into prison cells for POWs who were being held there.
Right.
Which does make me sort of, again, with me, with my military sort of interest hat on, makes me go, whoa, because that's always really interesting when things, but it's just such a great combination of different histories and stuff in this place. Like you've got the house itself, what you've told me about the land, which I didn't know. Then you've got the barrack buildings
Yeah,
as well. It's like a melting pot of different uh, avenues to follow.
exactly.
How
That's
do you
right.
choose what to focus on?
Well, I just choose the house because it looks nice and it appeals to me, and
Hmm.
it's where we've had most of the sort of I'll call it activity.
Hmm.
Most of the activity that we've experienced has come from the house. I mean, the barracks, they haven't really experienced that much. There's been taps turning on by themselves. That's pretty much it, really.
Mm.
Um, but within the house itself, that's where things have been happening, very interesting things. So we've sort of
Okay.
stayed concentrating on that building because it's where it's all happening really. And every time we keep going back, it's almost like whatever's there becomes familiar and
Mm.
seems to show itself just a little bit more by running around a bit more and making a bit more noise. And yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's gotten to the point where the footsteps do actually sound exactly like footsteps. There's no denying them. I mean, they're clear as day and they run in the pattern just like somebody running. It's beyond, we've gone beyond the bit where it could just be building movement, the building settling in the night, that
Yeah.
sort of thing. It's beyond that now because it's obviously not that because it doesn't follow any of the usual sort of, you know, um, the way that houses do
Mm.
settle. They do creak and they do groan and tap, but nothing like this. This is clear as day footsteps running down hallways.
Mm.
To the point where you can actually hear that it's barefoot
Yeah.
when it's running on wooden floorboards. You can actually hear it that it's barefoot
I think there is
and it's
I
running
mean,
at pace.
when you've been doing this a while, you can sort of hear the difference between, as you say, house settling
Yeah.
to actual almost quantifiable interact. Are there any
Mm.
sort of particular gadgets or experiments, or what particular gadgets experiments do you find, if there is something in there that's it's sort of seems to work the best?
Um, Not really. I mean, I don't really use too many gadgets. I mean, I do. I still buy gadgets, but I use them just to try and test them out and just see if there's any truth to the claims with the gadgets. And usually, I'm left disappointed. And I've got a huge box here just full of old gadgets that I don't use anymore. Um, but I'm pretty old school now. I just have my video cameras. I set video cameras up and I record everything because video cameras will record audio as well. So you get your
Mm,
audio and your visual. So I just use lots and lots of video cameras and just film everything, every angle
mm.
as best I can, and just be in the moment, just sit quietly and just be there and see what
Yeah.
happens.
I did see the video of what looks like a shadow coming down past the stairs online.
Okay, where was that? Oh,
I
the
think
black and
it's,
white one.
I think so, yeah.
That's on the that's yeah that's one that's yeah that's a bit of a story. We don't
Okay.
talk about that. That was on the Lake House security camera footage.
Yeah. So why is
That's
it a sore subject?
Well, because what we believe it is, or what we know it is, and what they think it is two different things.
Okay.
Um,
You don't
to
think
me,
it's
it
a
just looks
spirit?
no. To me, it's a spider web. It's a very obvious spider
Oh,
web,
okay.
and as it's a slight breeze, and there's a strand of spider web, and as it sort of just drifts past the infrared camera light, it lights up, and sort of you can see it, and then it
Ah,
moves back and it disappears. But there are points that if you freeze frame it, you can actually see the strand. It goes right off
okay.
out of the frame.
Okay. But isn't
Um,
it that area that a lot of people have reported? I mean, you
yes, those
mentioned about
stairs.
your colleague who said that a figure came up the
Yeah,
stairs.
those stairs are the very active areas. Like that's where
Right.
Paddy's been seen. That's
Right.
where that girl saw him many years ago on those stairs. So yeah, that stairwell is very active, and also upstairs on the main top floor there as well.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, there are lots of little areas there, but it follows a circle. And as James Gilbert, the Wellington paranormal guy that sort of saw the shadow coming down the stairs towards him,
Uh-huh.
he theorized that perhaps she's playing the sort of running around game. She seems to be
Yeah.
running around in a circle where she runs up the stairs, goes along the top mezzanine, and then along the top floor, and then down the other stairs.
Mm.
Because we had a couple of team members were down the other end of the building with pop lights, and they were sitting there doing a little communication session. And straight after James had his little event, um, it basically they experienced their equipment going off within seconds after. So it was almost like she was doing a bit of a track around the house,
Mm-hmm.
running around in circles, up and down the stairs, and um, it sort of followed a pattern.
Ah,
So we
interesting.
we don't know. It was interesting at the time.
Yeah, no, no, it is. Yeah, it's just made me think that when my parents did an extension on their house, my dad designed it deliberately so my sister and I could do circuits of the house if it was
Yeah, yeah,
it was miserable outside and we couldn't go outside. It was just made me think of that yeah, he deliberately designed it so that we could run round as
yeah,
little kids and do a circuit inside the house if we couldn't go outside because the weather was too bad.
yeah. Well, it
So
definitely feels like it when
yeah.
it's sort of happening. You can sort of imagine a young girl running up and down the stairs, and yeah, across the top
Hmm.
floor and down the other stairs, and it definitely does feel that way anyway.
Okay. So d d what input to whatever goes on there do you think its use as an arts centre might add energy? Might add energy, I hasten to
Oh
add.
well, it's a very busy art centre. There's always people there. So there's the that sort of I can't imagine an art centre for children and adults having any negative vibes going
Mm,
down. It's always sort of positive and creative and uplifting, and we've always felt welcome there. It's a very welcoming atmosphere there.
mm,
We've never ever felt anything um, nasty or evil. Even it
mm.
just doesn't feel that way. It always feels light and friendly, almost like somebody wants to play.
Yeah.
Somebody wants to play, and you can sort of feel the childlike sort of essence there.
Mm.
It does have it there.
Mm. It does certainly, the photos I've looked of it, I'm not a psychic or anything like that, but it looks the kind of place that I would quite happily sit on like the front veranda porch bit with a book and a cold like Diet Coke or something and quite happily just sit there and sort of soak up the
Yeah,
vibe. It doesn't you know how some buildings you look at and you think I really don't want to it doesn't look welcoming. It doesn't look warm and friendly and it has got that kind of a really nice I mean it might be the New Zealand influence because I always find New Zealand as a warm and friendly but it doesn't look an intimidating building at all which
no,
I think I'm glad you said that because I think a lot of people who are sort of new to the paranormal think all buildings have to be terrifying and scary and have the demon in the basement for them to have any activity and be worth investigating. And that is so not true. It's so
no,
not true. And I'm glad you've said that. Obviously, as a very experienced investigator, places that have got a positive vibe to them, a childlike vibe, not a childlike vibe in a horrible, nasty way, but a childlike vibe in that children had fun. They
yeah.
enjoyed their time there. It wasn't that they were, beaten and, locked in basements and everything else. They had fun. They were children. And it doesn't have to be negative. It can be a positive experience, then I think one of the things that I sort of say about locations, I say, yeah, but nobody was murdered there or nobody took their own life there. No, but that doesn't mean it can't still have something going on. Just
That's a
just
good
be
thing, right?
well, I would have thought so. I would have thought so. I mean, my house I live in now, it was built in the early 70s, but the lady who owned it from when it was built, she passed away and then we bought it off her. She was in her 90s.
Mm.
She had a good life. She's still here. I've heard her, and I know
Yeah.
I've heard her because my next door neighbours, they've been here about 15, 16 years. And I remember asking them, did my the previous occupant here ever sing to herself? Because one day I was on my own in the house because I work from home, and I heard a voice in my kitchen go ha 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 ha, and that's exactly what I heard. And it was enough that my dog went absolutely mental. He thought there was someone in the house, so he heard it too. And when I spoke to my neighbours a few months later, I was just chatting to them. I said, "Did she ever sing?" And she went, "Oh, she was always going ha 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 ha." I'm like, okay. And when we redid the kitchen, stuff started getting thrown. I'm not joking here. Stuff got thrown off the sides. She
Ah,
didn't like it. And husband, builder, every single spirit level known to man. He went in and checked the sides were level, completely level. There is no way anything could roll off. And one of the things that got thrown
mm.
was a loaf of bread that was at the back of the work surface, ended up on the
Oh,
floor. So
nice.
and we're pretty sure it's her telling us whether she didn't really like what we'd done with her kitchen. Um, so she's not nasty. She's
No,
even my eldest son. He said he's seen a figure walk past his bedroom door before,
yeah,
and pretty sure it's her. But she's not nasty. But she's just letting us know she's still here.
she's still around.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a crazy cat lady here.
Okay.
Our house it's a 1980s house,
Yeah.
and on two different occasions, my wife and I have both seen her on two different occasions, and she's wearing the same clothing, and she's wearing a bright red top. It's in full color, bright red top, and those white pants that you used to have in the, I guess, 70s or 80s.
Yeah.
White pants, red top, and she had a buffy sort of curly mop of white hair on top of her head, a big sort of
Yeah.
big
Yeah.
perm, I
Yeah.
guess you'd call it.
Yeah.
And my wife has seen her first, and she just caught a glimpse of her, and it was the bright red clothing that sort of stood out because
Mm.
it was out in our back garden, which is all just green. It's all native ferns
Okay.
and bush and stuff like that. So
Lovely.
um, her red top stood out against all the green. And I was in the garden too, doing the gardening one year, and I looked up and I saw this flash of red, and I looked up and I saw her standing there, and then she just sort of just poof disappeared.
Mm.
Um, and with our house, we noticed that we have a cat door. There's a cat door that was in the house when we bought it out the
Mm-hmm.
back. And when we moved in, we noticed that cats were coming into our house,
Mm.
and they would just make their way. You get all the local strays, and then they would just come in, and they would. We had a cat at the time, and of course, these cats were coming in and stealing the food, and
Yeah.
we would wake up in the middle of the night, and there would be cats fighting in our living room, and cats sleeping on our couches, and
Did she
it was
feed
just
them by
ridiculous.
any chance?
Yeah, well, she was a crazy
Yeah.
cat lady, and she used to feed
Mm.
all the strays.
Mm-hmm.
And she was also a chain smoker. There was one time I went down in the garage, and none of us smoke, and I opened the garage door, and it was just like there was somebody right there smoking a cigarette.
Wow.
And it was just there. It was just, oh, it was just like there was somebody right there.
Yeah.
Um, the lady down the end of our driveway, she had the first house on our cul-de-sac, and she saw all the houses in the area being built and put into place. She saw our
Mm.
house being built, and so I went and asked her about this. I said, "Oh, did you know the lady that lived up there
Mm-hmm.
um, before? It was before I've got a few owners before us." And she described it perfectly. I said, "Did she have curly white hair?" Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And she used to, and the lady said, "Oh, she used to feed all the local cats. They would all come to the house, and she would feed them." and and I said, "She wasn't a smoker by chance, was she?" "Oh, yes, she was a chain smoker. She was a chain smoker." And so we had all these cats just being drawn to our house, and we couldn't figure out what was going on. And it was because we had a crazy cat lady ghost, and we've seen her.
Awesome. Yeah. No,
So yeah, it's
I've never
interesting.
seen mine. My eldest son reckons he's seen a figure walk past his door when he's been on his own in the house. We've all heard footsteps on our stairs. And again, it's not settling of the
Yeah.
house. It's definite footsteps. But I think that my dog, I mean, I've got a quite a big typical German Shepherd that, someone breathes near the house and he's on guard mode. It doesn't bother him anymore. He must be used to her by now because when something does happen now in the house, he literally just looks up and it's like no different if one of us moved. She also has a tendency every so often of throwing books at me.
Oh,
She, she'll pull a book. She did it a few months ago. There was a couple of my books that just suddenly got launched off the bookshelf, and it wasn't. They didn't fall. because they were in the bookshelf. They just got launched into the middle of the floor, and I sat there and watched it happen. But it's not frightening. I mean, and my kids and my husband, they don't get frightened by it anymore because she just happens to be living here with us.
Yeah.
Um, but the reason I tell that story is so many people think hauntings have to be scary, they have to be nasty, they have to be no. I mean, and I'm using the word hauntings in a very general term
Hmm.
without
Yeah.
going into specific details, but they can actually just be like you're just sharing a home with someone. It doesn't have to be like the Enfield poltergeist. It can be, it's just, yeah. But I must
Yeah.
admit, when my
Yeah.
neighbours gave me the sound of what she used to hum to herself all the time, I think I went quite pale. And my neighbour
Yeah.
goes, "Did you hear it?" And I went, "That's exactly what I heard." And I explained what had happened, and she went, "Yeah, that would have been her." So yeah,
Brilliant. Yeah.
it was quite I think my son, the one who's learning how to do all of this, he was with me at the time, and he just looked at me and he was like, "This is so cool, Mum." And I was like, "Yeah, it's quite good validation of what I heard because I'd never met her. She passed away before we even she the reason we got the house is because she'd passed away, and her son was a friend of mine's stepdad, and they knew that we were looking for a house in this area, and they were sort of like gold dust to get. And as soon as they heard this house was going to go on the market, they told us. So I'd never met her. I didn't even know what she looks like, other than the fact she's tall, because of everything is quite tall in this house. Um, but yeah, it doesn't have to be nasty.
No, I've never had any nasty experiences
Have you not? Oh,
from anything.
okay.
No, nothing at all. No, it's always been welcoming, friendly, and exciting. Really, whenever
Yeah.
something happens, I do feel a sense of excitement, and um, I've never really felt fear in any of the sort of work that I do. Interesting. Yeah, yeah, very cool.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but no, most places I've gone to even places that people have said it's terrifying. Drakelow Tunnels is another one. A lot of people say, "Oh, it's terrifying down there." I'd quite happily sleep there. I
Yeah,
liked
yeah.
it.
It's locked up now, isn't it? Isn't it locked up?
Oh, don't. It's another one. Yeah, they sold it off. I think it's a glorified wine cellar now. You can't do
Um,
investigations down there anymore. It had miles of tunnels, and these tunnels, they weren't just like crouchy over tunnels. You could drive a double-decker bus down them tunnels. And so it's a real shame. They do still do history tours, but they don't allow investigations anymore. That was one of my first ever places I properly investigated. But a lot of people are scared by it. I never found it scary. I actually found it quite cathartic and relaxing. I don't think there's a location I've ever gone to that has actually scared me. Um, some of the people who've been on the investigation have scared me, but not,
oh
not,
yeah.
yeah, not the actual. No, there's no locations that I would never that I visited that I would never. I might never go back to them because I think they're hyped, but not that I wouldn't go back because, yeah, even Penhurst Asylum I didn't find frightening down in there.
No,
But
I've heard it's actually quite a quiet place as well. I've heard that from numerous people
yeah,
online that it's and
it's
Waverley. That's another one that
yeah.
a lot of people say that quiet,
I
nothing
th
really happens.
I don't know. I had some weird experiences just during the day when I was at Penhurst. Not the Paracon, but the year before when I got shown round. I had some weird experiences down there, but I don't think I think with things like places like Penhurst, Waverley. Oh, and there's that asylum in Australia that's quite famous that people investigate that I've just completely forgot.
Oh,
They
Airedale.
Arridale, that's the one.
Yes,
I
we've
think
been there.
people,
Yep.
yeah, that's another one on my wish list. I think that people build up into their heads what it's going to be like because it's got a bad reputation because people maybe who had learning difficulties were there, people with mental health problems were there, so they automatically assume A, there's been bucket loads of abuse. B, there's all like basically criminally insane people in there who want to hurt you. It's that kind of misconception.
Yeah.
Whereas in actual fact, if you've ever dealt with people with learning difficulties, ever dealt with people with mental health problems, sometimes even though the way they're trying to communicate with you might appear aggressive, It's not. It's just their way of communicating. And
That's right.
that was one of the conversations I had with some of the people at Penhurst that yeah, you might think it's bad that suddenly you've been scratched on your arm, but maybe that person's non-verbal. Oh, that spirit, whatever, entity, energy, whatever it is non-verbal and it's trying to get your attention. And if the only way it can do it is by marking your arm, it doesn't mean he wants to
Mm,
hurt you. It might just mean it's wanting you to stay or it's wanting you to talk to them or it's um and I think it's a I've yeah, I don't know about you, but when people say to me, "Oh, what you do is terrifying. You go into dark buildings and you ask ghosts to talk to you." Yeah. Oh, aren't you scared they're going to hurt you? No. And the reason I'm not scared, and I'd love your view on this, Mark. The reason I'm not
yes.
scared is if we assume that a ghost, for want of a better term, is a former living person, how many living people, if you walk down the street, do you think want to hurt you?
3.
Three. That's very precise.
Yeah.
The point
Yeah.
I'm trying to make is you could walk through a busy town and there might be one out of 100 who might look at you and think, I don't like the look of you.
Yeah. That's right.
Why do
That's
we
right. That's right.
assume that every single spirit wants to hurt us? Why do we
Movies.
pardon?
Movies.
Well, yeah,
Movies make you think that.
yeah. But that when I say that to
Movies.
people, they do start to go, oh, although when I said it once to a friend of mine who's a police officer, they said, trust me, when I'm in uniform, bloody everyone wants to hurt me. But I'm like, no, but they wouldn't know you if you're not in uniform, if you're not doing your job. Um, but when I say that to people, they suddenly go, oh, you've got a point. And that's how I go in. I don't go in assuming they want to hurt me. I go in assuming they just they want some interaction because otherwise they're not going to do anything.
Yeah.
So
I believe they're all quite lonely, a lot of them.
yeah,
I can imagine that being dead or deceased is quite a lonely way to be. And
yeah.
it's I think they look forward to people coming in and visiting them, and I think it can be quite frustrating. I mean, I know with my grandmother, before she passed away, I mean, I was very close with my grandmother, and she encouraged all the work that I did. And I mean, she didn't really believe in it, I don't think, but she did encourage it because it was a passion of mine. So she said,
Mm,
"You stick with it and keep asking questions and all that." And she told me straight up, when I die, I want you to come and find me, or I'll try and talk to you. I'll try and
mm,
talk to you. And I think she said it sort of, in jest, really, or but she, I don't think she'd be able to anyway because she wasn't very technically minded. She
yeah.
couldn't operate a basic VHS machine at the time. There were no cell phones, so she didn't have to. She wasn't any good with technology. So I can imagine if I was using gadgets, she wouldn't be able to operate any of them anyway.
Mm,
Um, uh, but she told me that she was going to try and get hold of me when she died, and I'm still waiting. But who knows? She may have been trying. She may have been at
may have been.
various investigations talking to me. She might be here right now, behind me, but I wouldn't know.
And also, like we said, we don't know what time is like. So to her, it
Mm,
might only have been 2 minutes since she died,
yeah,
whereas for you, it could have been 10 years.
yeah.
You just, but no, I'm very much, yeah, the whole sort of, one of the first things I did with my teenager when he said he was interested in it is make him actually watch what I would call almost proper investigations, not Hollywood investigations. Um, and
No,
actually,
you make him watch 13 Ghosts.
some of the ones he was watching, I was like, you do realize they're just screaming to try and sort of make it look and things like, Ouija boards are a phone, what is it? Someone called me one. They're a phone line to hell. And I said, if they're a phone line to hell because they're opening a portal to demons, what's a spirit box?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh yeah. It's kind of, but yeah, he's trying to sort of, yeah. So he is very calm. He just he for nearly 16, he he's quite impressive at times. He doesn't, something will happen and you just see a massive grin appear on his face, but he doesn't start the whole sort of like there's a demon in the basement type thing. Apart from that, he knows I'd slap him around the head and tell him to get out. But uh, um, it's yeah, he's he's got that calmness, and he will just chat. He will actually, he doesn't. Yeah, he's got respect, but he's not fearful, if that makes sense,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is hopefully what more and more investigators will
Which is a lot
embrace.
more than a lot of adults that come along to ghost tours and things have. A lot of them just
Mm,
don't get it.
no.
I know Sophie, Sam from my team, his daughter, Sophie, I've known her since she was about 10. And she comes to a lot of our public events and she helps out behind the
Mm,
scenes. And now I think she's 18 now.
yeah.
And I mean, she's very grounded. Nothing phases her.
Yeah.
She's seen enough now to know, and Dad's taught her enough now that what's what and this is this, and she'll come along to our ghost tours and our events that we do, and she'll just roll her eyes at some of the things that the adults are doing.
So does
Um,
Will.
and she's just like, oh my God, I can't believe that they were doing that. Do they really think that they're talking to somebody? Oh my gosh. And they'll be on the Ouija boards and that sort of thing. And I mean, she knows how they work. She knows about the ideometer effect and
Yeah.
power of suggestion and
Hmm.
all this. And so she gets it. She knows.
Yeah.
And she's only like 18 now. And yeah, she sees a lot more than grown adults that are doing it.
Mm.
I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
no,
interesting.
it's say I must admit I'm trying to train Will to be respectful, because some people believe stuff, and it's like when someone sends you the photo and like, look, it's an orb, and you're like, "Ah, no, it's actually an insect," and they get really angry with you when you point out it's an insect because you can actually make out the wings. Um,
Yeah.
but it's
I've been
how
blocked from so many sites and groups from
have you, Mark?
explaining orbs, and lens flare. I don't know
Can I
why I
be
bother.
honest with you? I never, until I met you, you always terrified me because you're so blunt on Facebook. And I was like, what's this guy gonna be like when I met you? And you were lovely. And I was like,
Yeah,
yeah, but I'm not surprised you've been, yeah, because people do get incredibly protective over their photos. And Will took one not so long ago, and he said, "Look, Mum, it looks like there's a figure." Now he's been conditioned, always three, bam, 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 always three. And I said, "Can I
yeah,
see the other two?" And he was like, "Yeah." So yeah, he does. He always does bum, bum, bum on his, yeah, three. And he said, "Look, there's a shadow figure." And I went and I enlarged it, and I went, "It's not a shadow figure, Will. It's darkening on the wall." And he was gutted when I pointed out what it was, but
yeah.
he was still like, oh well, I'll capture something one day. And but because he goes bam 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 when any photos he takes, it's one two three, and it's like, I'm so proud, he's
Yeah.
he's actually listening, but he's disappointed if he hasn't caught something,
Oh,
but
it's
he's
always
also
exciting when you think you've
realistic.
captured something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very exciting when you think. I mean, I've been let down a couple of times myself, where I think I've recaptured. I mean, there was one about at the lake house where
Mm.
we had filmed an investigation. I was going through the footage, and I was filming down the stairs, down the big stairs. I was at the top, down, looking, aiming the camera downstairs,
Hmm.
and I could see the two of the ladies there. They were talking amongst themselves, and over the top of them, I heard this little girl giggling
Hmm.
over the top of their voices, and I got all excited about that, and I was just like, "Oh my God, I've done it! I've captured Patty. She's giggling right
Mm.
there." But we ended up having a second lot of footage. There was somebody downstairs, and they were filming the two ladies talking.
Mm.
And it was actually one of the ladies, she actually turned her head to the side and she sort of tittered to herself.
Right.
Subconsciously, she sort of giggled to herself. But
Yeah.
from me up on the stairs, the way I captured it upstairs, it sounded like a little girl giggling.
Yeah.
And we've had that happen another time where we were doing a communication session and I was filming with my video camera and Sam was filming on his cell phone. And on my camera, it sounded like a little girl singing over the top of our communication session as the questions were being asked. There was this little
Hmm.
sort of sound, and I thought, "Wow, this is amazing! Is this Paddy singing?" And
Yeah.
then Sam reviewed his footage of that same piece, and it was a motorbike going down the road,
Oh.
and it was but just different recording processes. But
Yeah.
it just shows you how the more cameras, the better. You
Oh,
need more eyes on
definitely.
the scene because one camera isn't enough, or one audio recorder even. If you have one audio recorder
Yeah.
recording,
It can either bunk or debunk.
yeah. But I guess in the same turn, it's good to have a little bit of empathy and sympathy for other people as well. Like
Yeah.
we've done communication sessions at public events and where we've had Ouija boards, and there'll be one lady that's doing it, and she believes that she's just had closure from
Mm.
a deceased husband,
Yep.
and she'll be in tears, and she
Yep.
truly believes that she had closure with the husband, and it's made her day. It's made her, the rest of her life, and it's something that she'll remember forever. And I'm
Hmm.
not going to bust that bubble. I'm
No,
not going to go in there and say no, you didn't.
no. It's like
And
when
if somebody comes to me and
someone's got the video of an
yeah,
orb floating around their severely
yeah,
disabled child, and they believe it's their grandmother guarding them.
yeah,
You can see it's because the disabled child has moved potentially
yeah,
and raised dust into the air, and the night camera has picked that up. But if they want to believe that's their grandmother
yeah,
looking after
uh,
their seriously ill child,
yeah,
feel free. I'm not gonna.
yeah. No, you're not gonna ruin it for them. I mean, we met this one guy at the store that was we were passing through in one little town here, and he said, "Oh, I've got to show you guys this," and he pulls out this old ratty photograph that he had taken
Mm,
many years ago, and he was quite proud of it. It was all folded up, and he had it in his wallet, and it was just of this group of people, and there was this sort of it was basically lens flare. It was just
mm,
this shard of light from the sun above them, sort of coming down, cutting through the photo, and it was cutting through the head of one of the guys, and apparently that guy passed away, 10 years after the photograph.
yeah.
But he was quite proud of it that he had captured the spiritual moment, and he was telling us about it. And I certainly wasn't going to say no, you haven't,
Mm,
because he spent the past probably decade or more showing people this photograph,
yeah.
telling them what he believes it is.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to I'm not going to trash that guy.
No.
Why would you?
Well, the only way you'd want to trash them if they started trying to make money off it.
Well, yeah, that's
And
right.
then
That's right.
you go for the kill. Or that's what I would,
Yeah,
if it gives them peace and solace and everything else, that's fine. But if they start trying to flog it for 10 grand to a
yeah.
newspaper as proof of their afterlife, then I might come in and yeah, yeah. Unless they're going to
I mean,
give
I
that
try to
10
explain.
unless they're going to give
Sorry.
that 10 grand to a charity or something, then I might let them get away with it. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I
Anyway,
tell people, I mean, they can't be expected to know everything about everything. I mean, you'd have to know everything about pretty much everything to be able to understand anything. So
mm,
people don't know anything about photography and audio projections
mm,
and all that kind of thing. So if you capture something, you wouldn't know what it
no,
is
no.
unless somebody shows you. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm not a gadget. I love gadgets, but I'm not techie. I don't know how they do and don't work. My thing is the history, obviously.
yeah,
But so I quite like it when someone educates me on what can cause false positives and what
yeah.
in photos, what um causes certain things to happen, and like what you said about that figure on the security camera actually being a cobweb. I'm going to go back and look at it and
Look
enlarge
at it
it now.
again from a
Yeah,
different angle.
yeah.
Yeah. Look at it from the perspective of it. Okay, could it be a spider's web in
Mm.
front of the lens, and you'll see it straight away.
Mm, okay, but that's something that these and yeah, I've learned a lot over the sort of 15 years I've been doing this and learned how to when she was in an old Anderson shelter, World War II air raid shelter, and she's oh my God, she's holding her phone up and like all these orbs, and I just took a photo from the side where her phone was illuminating, and you could see all the dust particles in the air,
Yeah,
and I said,
yeah,
"There, your orbs." Now, yeah, I stud bubble a wee bit, but I'd learnt enough by that point to be able to explain that's what you're seeing. Um,
yeah.
but
Well, people say that you can't see orbs, spirit orbs with your
naked
no, that you
eye,
can see spirit orbs with your eyes, with your naked eye,
yeah,
and you can see dust with your naked eye. You just have to turn on a torch. You turn on your torch, and if you can see a beam, well, then
yeah,
that light is hitting something,
true.
isn't it? And it's hitting dust or moisture or whatever.
I
So
have
you
seen
can
light
actually see those.
anomalies though. I have seen light anomalies with my naked eye with no illumination whatsoever, which I can't
Ah, okay.
explain. I can't explain. Um, I've seen a couple in my life. Um, so, and I can't explain them. I can't explain them. But all these people sort of say they see them in every single photo they ever take of a haunted location. Eh.
Yeah. See, I think I may have. I think I may have, but I'm undecided. I was when I was over there actually in the UK. I went to the Wallerton forest there,
Yeah,
Wallerton Park there, and where the gnomes have been
yeah,
sighted
yeah,
many years ago,
yeah.
1970s.
Kate Ray wrote
Um,
about that. Yeah.
Kate Ray, yeah, she
Hmm.
influenced me, that woman.
She's
That
awesome.
got me all excited about gnomes and elves and fairies again.
Mm,
Um, I went through a wander through the Willerton forest there, and I did actually see a speck of light that
mm,
sort of flit as I was filming through the trees, and it sort of flitted through, and I saw it for about a second. But it was a bright little pin dot of light.
mm.
Now, I don't know if there were fireflies in that forest, but that's the
Doubt
only
it.
thing I could think it
Yep.
possibly was. Yeah.
Yeah. We don't really have them.
And
We don't really
no,
have them. No.
it's the only thing I could think of. It was, maybe it's a fire. Do they have fireflies here? I don't know. But it
No.
was just this little pin speck of light, and it was like, is this an orb? And I thought, is this what people are seeing?
Mm.
Is this what an orb is? I'm not too sure.
No. I've
So I may have seen one.
Yeah, I've seen
May have.
two light anomalies, I think. And one was in actually in Drakelow tunnels, and the other one was when I was 11, and I've written about it in my first book, my new book, sorry. But yeah, I think. But you're right. All you have to do is put a torch on, and you can see all the dust particles in the air. Um,
Mm,
and that's possibly what your camera's picking up on. I wouldn't say all of them because there's that 0.01% chance you might have
exactly.
captured
Yeah.
something. And this is an
Yeah.
argument. This has caused me to be blocked by people when I've said you can't say unequivocally that everything is dust or insects. There's that 0.01% chance it could be. It could
And
be.
of course, people will tell you, what if spirits actually look like dust orbs? What if their energy takes the form of a dust orb? How would you
Okay.
know? So
Um,
I don't know.
well, in that case, then my house has an awful lot of spirits in it because there's quite a
Yeah,
lot of dust. So
yeah. And how do you know that every single one of those dust particles is actually dust? It could be a spirit orb amongst all that.
that's why I
See?
say 0.01%. There is
Yeah,
that tiny, tiny, tiny possibility. You cannot say until you can recreate it every single time, you can't say unequivocally it's not. But you can say if you've done it a lot of research, you can say with quite confidently, I'm 99% sure
yeah.
it's not
I can imagine it'd be quite frustrating. I mean, if you're a ghost, if you're a spirit, and you take the form of
an
an orb
orb.
that's as small as a piece of dust, and people are out there, investigators and people are around there, and you're hovering around amongst all this crowd of millions and millions of other dust particles, and you're not being seen, and you're screaming out, "Hey,
And
over
they're
here!"
attacking you with a feather duster to get you out of the
It's,
air.
that's right. And you're just trapped in this dust storm.
Yeah, try harder
Uh,
next time. Full
yeah,
manifestation or nothing. We don't go hard.
right.
Anything we can sort out with a feather duster is not gonna. Yeah, we're not gonna write about. Yeah.
Yeah. And how many deceased people are stuck in vacuum cleaners right now? You know,
Oh hell,
trying to get
I
out.
vacuumed before I called you. I better go and have a chat with my vacuum cleaner and see if there's anyone in there who wants to talk to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Do an
don't
EVP session with your vacuum cleaner.
you know what that's going to happen? Somebody on YouTube is going to do a communicating with a vacuum
Yeah.
cleaner session because they'll believe that you can suck up spirits like Ghostbusters style using a vacuum cleaner.
Yeah. It's just a movie.
It's cool. It's a very cool
Yeah.
movie, but yeah,
I know.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm just waiting for the communicating with pieces of dust. Actually, I might record it just as a sort of a skit and see if people actually start to believe it. There you go. Well, thank you so much for your time, Mark. It's been an absolute joy. I've really enjoyed talking to you about
You can
the
say it.
lake
It's a
house.
pleasure.
It is a pleasure.
It
It has
is.
been a pleasure.
Immense pleasure.
Yes, I've really enjoyed it. You're not scary after all.
No.
Um, you see, I know that now, but a few years ago I didn't know that. Um, I must admit, whenever you say something harsh now to me on Facebook, I just go, yeah, whatever.
That's right.
I take no
No, it's my
notice.
Kiwi humor. It's very dry, very sarcastic. That's
Yeah,
me.
yeah. And but sarcasm gets us blocked off things. That is the only problem.
It is.
But thank you so much. I hope the future's bright for you, at least
Yeah.
in about 7 or 8 hours when it's daytime again. Um,
Yep.
and yeah, thank you ever so much. And if anyone wants to sort of read on your research, follow what your group's doing, where would they find the details?
Well, we have our website. It's the Paranormal New Zealand website. It's a very large resource that gets used by university students and their courses and things. It's called
Oh,
basically it's using our old name. We used to be called Haunted Auckland, and then we changed our name to Paranormal New Zealand. But the website address is basically hauntedauckland.com.
okay, wonderful.
And we're on Facebook and YouTube.
Yep,
Like and
brilliant.
subscribe.
I will share all the links out when I advertise the show. Don't you worry. Anyway, so thanks ever so much to Mark for being my guest on this episode of Haunted Histories. Do go and check out those resources he mentioned. And yeah, if there's anyone else that you think I should be interviewing to talk history and mystery with, let me know. And watch this space, and there'll be another show very, very soon. Have a good evening, sleep tight, and don't worry too much about things that go bump in the night.